Hey everyone, thank you again for joining the live stream for day one of NHL Free Agency. Let's go through winners and losers of day one. It's kind of hard to go through winners and losers for a day that didn't have the biggest, most attractive pieces or big names. There were a couple big names. We're going to go through it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that like, notification bell, comment your thoughts down below. We're just going to go through teams that I think won in a way or lost in a way or what teams could do better. So a team like the Rangers, I loved this extension for Will Cooley, reasonable number. I also like the business they're doing in terms of bringing in Gavrikov, and it sounds like they're going to get a first round pick plus for Keandre Miller. So I think that's some tidy business for the New York Rangers, and I think that was the biggest concern, right? Make sure you sign Will Cooley, and if you are losing Keandre Miller, get value back, and they're getting Gavrikov right through free agency. So they're getting Gavrikov and draft compensation in a way for Keandre Miller, and I think that's huge. Looking at a couple other teams, I just want to keep scrolling down. I'm interested in this. I think the Ducks have been kind of winners in a way. It's expensive, Granlund getting him at $7 million AAV, but I will say for what the Ducks are trying to accomplish, they still have a lot of cap flexibility. They do need to sign Mason McTavish still, but I like this. It's a big name, a big fish in what's kind of a tiny UFA class in terms of big names. Like Marner went the day before, Provorov went the day before, a few others, Marchand the day before. So I think when it's the scenario for Anaheim where they have a lot of young guys coming, a 3-year deal for Granlund is not a big deal at $7 million AAV. The cap's going to keep going up. It's a little expensive. I think market value would have been closer to $5 million AAV, but the Ducks definitely had to overpay a little bit to get Granlund. And if we keep scrolling down, we'll see a team soon. But I thought a team like the Islanders, again, I have no problem with the Islanders have been doing. I think they had a great draft, so I can declare them as kind of winners for draft and UFA combined. I like this contract for Johnny Durant. It's low risk. I think he brings more offense that the Islanders need, so I like that. And then we're going to get into the losers here, the Kings. I understand the whole identity change and trying to figure things out to be Edmonton or whatever team you face in the playoffs, but I don't mind this contract for Anton Forsberg. This one is fine. It's the other ones we're just about to talk about. $4 million a year for Dumoulin, $4.5 million a year for Ceci, and then you combine that with the Perry, and you're talking about like $12 million for these three guys. It's kind of crazy because Ceci and Dumoulin might end up being their third pair, and that's a lot of money. Like, that's the Kenny Holland experience, guys. That is completely the Kenny Holland experience. So that's kind of where my head's at with the LA Kings is I understand and respect the identity change, but what they paid for some of these guys is hefty. And I don't mind what Utah did, but I also think they paid a lot for guys that I think, like, I understand the veteran presence and the identity shift for them too, but I think they paid a lot for guys that I think were in good situations last year. Like, I think Nate Schmidt was in a perfect situation in Florida last year. 3.5 for his age, for the potential role he will need to play in Utah. We'll see. But I don't love what Utah did in the UFA market. I love the Peterka trade. So I want to make that clear. I love the Peterka trade, and I love the personnel they were bringing in. But this is another team I think did really well. Detroit. I think Detroit did really well. Like, it's low risk. JVR at $1 million per, and Bernard Docker at under $1 million per. So I like what Detroit did. The Blues, a lot of people are hating on the Blues for the Bolduc and Mailloux trade. If you're calling Logan Mailloux like a no-name defender, then you got to educate yourself. 6'3" right shot defenseman. He was literally a first-round pick in the same year that Bolduc got drafted. And the only reason he hasn't got an opportunity in the NHL is the Habs have just been crowded in their defense group, and they just acquired Noah Dobson. So do I love the trade for St. Louis? Maybe not individually. I was kind of saying it was a win-win in terms of what each team wants, because St. Louis has been trying to acquire a younger defenseman, so they get that with Mailloux. Of course, I think Bolduc has done more in the NHL so far, so that's why Blues fans are frustrated, understandably so. But getting Nuke Bustad for $1.75 per for 2 years is such good value. It's really good value, so how I look at it is, again, sometimes it's a combination of things and why general managers make decisions. If they didn't get a guy like Bukestad at this price, and they made that Bolduc for Mailloux trade, then I'm a little bit harder on the Blues. But I think how they look at it is like, okay, Bukestad's kind of replacing the third line presence of Bolduc. Different style of player, I get it, but bigger size. and you look at Mailloux as hopefully a future top 4 guy for the St. Louis Blues. He's only 22 years old. You can't expect a defenseman to be really, truly themselves until mid-20s. And the fact that he's the style of play he is, the offensive style, and he's 6'3" right shot, there's value behind that. And whether you agree with it or not, it's a rare breed in the National Hockey League. So, also, there you go. There's a familiar face. But you know what? I actually think the LA Kings had a couple good signings. Like, I like the Armia signing, and I like the Forsberg signing. But the other ones kind of make them losers in that aspect. And I don't know what the Boston Bruins were doing, but similar to the Kings, like, I love the Esamont signing for them, and they made a couple low-key signings that I think are going to help them. But this contract is, I think 5 years for Jeannot at 3.4 is a lot. I do think he is a perfect Boston Bruin. I think he is a classic Boston Bruin. So I'm not shocked the Bruins picked him up. I literally had said, like, I feel like he's going to go to the Atlantic Division. I kept saying, I was like, Buffalo, Boston, maybe Toronto. So I think Jeannot fits what Boston's trying to accomplish. But when you look at the Bruins' big picture and what they did at the trade deadline and now filling up the cap space, like, you start looking at combined cap hits of guys like Jeannot and Zadorov and Elias Lindholm, and like missing out on a guy like Brock Besser in the open market. Then now they're not going to be able to get a guy like Ehlers likely. So things like that, like, Boston just doesn't have the top-heavy offense to support Pasternak right now. They just don't. So that's going to be a big conversation for Boston. What are they going to do? What's the direction for them? I did like what the Devils did in terms of Connor Brown. I think $3 million is fair for what you're getting from Connor Brown. So I like that. But I would say good to get Faravari locked up for the Caps. I think the Flyers, like, the Dvorak contract 1 year, it's a lot, but it's lower risk. So it's hard to really determine winners and losers on day one where there was limited signings on a bigger picture sense. There was a lot of depth signings, a lot of smaller signings, and then the signings were kind of sporadic. But I do think I like what the Rangers did. I think the Canes are moving. I think they're still my favorite to get Nikolai Ehlers, so we're going to see. And then I think teams like Montreal, Detroit, I like what those teams did. But teams like LA and Boston, couple bad contracts in there. Utah, maybe a couple bad contracts. But again, Utah is definitely improving. I would still target them as a playoff team. I just think when you have so much cap space, sometimes you want to try to weaponize it as best you can. So beyond that, I think you could go prior to day one of free agency and just look at Florida are the ultimate league winners, ultimately. And Vegas getting Mitch Marner. Like, you can't sit here and go Toronto and Winnipeg are doing well for themselves when they're losing big players like that. You got to wait and see what Toronto and Winnipeg does beyond this, because at the end of the day, Toronto just signed depth players, and then Winnipeg just signed a guy like Tanner Pearson. So we got to wait and see with Toronto and Winnipeg what they're going to do the rest of the offseason. But day one, I kind of give you an idea where my head's at with some winners, teams that I thought did some good things, and then maybe teams like San Jose. I can't really like crap on San Jose, but $4 million for John Klingberg is outrageous. I understand they're doing that to get to the cap floor, and they have to get to the cap floor. Same with Anaheim. Signing Granlund to that number, yes, it's to improve their team, but the inflation of the number is also to get to the cap floor. So I'm wondering if teams like the Leafs will send Yarncrow and Kampf, and some of these contracts might get moved and attach some draft picks for these teams that are either not at the cap floor yet or have still a lot of cap space. So we'll keep an eye on that. But anyways, guys, Pontus Holmberg to Tampa. There you go. Thank you so much, guys. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, notification bell, all that good stuff. Let me know your winners and losers of day one of NHL free agency and what you expect or what you'll predict for the rest of the way. Thanks, guys. Talk soon. Peace.